Hey, what's going on, everyone? Eric Rosen from Chaos to Clarity, Celestial Conversations. This is the show that gets into the weeds of what's going on with the collective that is not covered in the mainstream media, the energetics of things, the spiritual je ne sais quoi, the variety of what it is that we're actually experiencing on more of a human level, how we can find a sense of self-leadership, self-authorship, like through the chaos and see through the storms. And so this is that weekly horoscope that brings that to you from my astrologer's interpretation. I usually do these on Wednesdays for the following Tuesday, but my schedule is going to be a little bit different this week because I have some stuff going on. So you're going to get a couple of bonus days. I'm going to cover now through, I think I said July 9th. It's Wednesday the following week. And so basically this is going to be covering some big transitions. We're finally going to see Uranus enter into Gemini. We're going to see Neptune go retrograde in Aries, which is a big deal, which we're going to start to see kind of a cascade little domino effect of some retrogrades coming up next month in July that includes Saturn and Mercury. I will go deeper into that in the monthly sun sign and rising sign horoscope that I do. And so watch out for that. That'll probably drop tomorrow. But I wanted to come on early this week because with these retrogrades coming, like we're kind of in dire straits a little bit as a collective with some of the free will choices I think that we're making. But I think for those that are more on the aware side of the awakened side, leading your personal life, it's more so about like waking up, not hesitating, like taking actions now before these retrogrades come in, because it's going to get really intense and crazy when Uranus enters into Gemini. So that is the benefit of doing this early, is that kind of a like get after it, like a little attaboy, attagirl, like to take care of business, especially before July 7th when Uranus enters into Gemini. But I would even say bonus points for getting your critical thinking projects, actions that you know that you need to take that are more innovative, that move you in a more positive direction in life before the 4th, because Neptune retrogrades in Aries on the 4th. So I'm going to be talking about that and the importance of that. Before I get into that, of course, if you want to get a personal astrology reading, just message me or drop a comment or an emoji. I am promoting the higher self coaching that I'm planning on starting middle of July. I'm running a special. It's a legacy pricing where it's $297 per month. You can opt out at any time. It's a month to month where you get group coaching through the channeling of my higher self and my guides and the Arcturians and anyone else that wants to come in and kind of help you get unstuck, unfucked out of the situation that you're in. Like, I've talked to so many people that just are like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, this feels so weird and nothing's working. It's like, yep, welcome to 2025. So I go into more of the like the subconscious like elements of like where there's probably some restricted programming and oftentimes traumas too that are still blocking people, and unpack that stuff and do some energy work around that and to get clarity moving forward, because this is flat out spiritual pioneer energy that we're in. It can be really beautiful, but it can also be chaotic for a central nervous system connected to old past traumas and connected to a conditioned mind that expects reality to operate in a certain way, and it's not doing that anymore. So whether you prefer that during more of a communal group coaching aspect of things, or if you're someone that prefers one-on-one coaching, I do 3 and 6 month coaching containers and bring all my tools that I'll put the stuff that I bring, the tools that I use to help people down below when this video is over. But for any interest in any of those areas, just message me or drop a comment or an emoji. The algorithms on some social media sites such as Facebook have changed such that putting links in the comments, like, they don't like that because it pulls them away from their website, from where they want people to be at and consuming the noise. It is what it is. So, first thing I want to say is I'm such a nodes guy. I'm such a nodal guy because you can tell so much about what we're doing, shifting out of, moving away from, heading towards as a collective with the nodes alone. South node, Virgo, North node, Pisces. Mars in Virgo is approaching that South node. So I want to say this, don't retreat into the Truman Show. Any challenges that you've been facing, especially on a mental level, because the South node being in Virgo brings up what's Mercury always doing in the charts, right? It's out of Cancer now, it's into Leo. So there's falsities that come up with the mind. It is what it is. Like what we think that should be factual, how things work, the usual method, approach, it's not working. And for a lot of people, that's what's producing any burnout feelings, lethargy. It's like you can't keep doing it the same way over and over again. It's not probably the thing that's bad. It may not even be your job per se. Like it might just be how you're approaching it. And also, can you be your full-blown character expression in it that feels exciting to you and stimulating, or does it feel like you're running from grief, like the show Severance on Apple, right? Because this Saturn Neptune definitely brings up, hey, got to pioneer, got to figure it out, got to move forward. But Neptune's sensitive and Saturn's a heavy planet. It can bring up like the grief that we're carrying, just like the wounds that we bear, like Chiron in Aries, right? So it's not about, with this Mars, the South node, like retreating into the Truman Show and being like, well, all the challenges mentally that have been coming up that have been preparing us for kind of an exodus from, I call this like the job 9 to 5 like thinking, right? Like that your safety and the harvest and the paycheck will come from just be a good patriot and actually like say Pink Floyd's Brick on the Wall didn't mean shit and just like go be the brick, and that makes you like a good citizen or something, right? Like we've been being shown like how to prepare for getting out of that exodus, how to pioneer, how to be more of a self-starter and leader and choose things that feel more passionate, that feel more creative, that feel more especially stimulating once Uranus hits Gemini, which I'll definitely get deeper into. But retreating into the Truman Show would look like, okay, like let me just go back to that thing. Let me go back to that old controlled reality that's being like manipulated by the programs that we've all been detoxing these past couple of weeks. So that could be that old relationship. It could be going back to an old job situation or an old industry or just any like daily life thing that basically would be the equivalent of being like, this shit's too crazy and too hard. I'm just going to be an ostrich and put my head in the sand. I'm sorry, but Saturn Neptune brings up the reality of survival, and it brings up war, and it brings up the intensity of stuff, and it's real, and it can be heavy, and it demands a lot of spiritual responsibility. It demands a sense of integrity in ourselves, of how we show up as individuals, all of our actions, the breaths we take. Like, can we still find compassion and empathy in situations? It's really hard not to be critical or judge, with this astrology. It could, speak to self-righteousness, but I think people that are in leadership positions of any type, and that could be anything from literally, your family, your business, whatever, just know that like your plight is worth talking about and being vulnerable about, and not like trying to put a mask on things, because I think the problem that some people are having is like there's a self-deception like element of like the Neptune blind side of like my shit don't stink, like I'm in charge type thing. And then it's producing a doubling down on ego and a lack of transparency in order to have like the upper hand, right? That's always like the shadiest side of Saturn. It wants control, right? And it doesn't have control in Aries. And so depending on the untamed ego, it will, go on a hunger strike, searching for that, and insist that it achieves that. So this is, you know, not going back into like, oh, it's a Truman Show. It's like there's no one's left on the set. Like, it's just me here, but I'm just gonna like sit here until people come back and, you know, go back to when everything seemed like happier. But it was all fake. And so that's the tough part about like all of this is like when Uranus goes into Gemini, it's the craziness of like what's factual and just like what we were being too stubborn about, like evolving and dealing with Uranus in Taurus. It's a tough position for it, theoretically speaking, right? It's like it can be very evolutionary in terms of our value systems, in terms of like how we show up in our relationships, making them more spiritual. It could be really creative for those that are like know how to let angelic source energy like move through them and channel through them and be moved by the creation itself. But it could also be that stubbornness, you know, of like resisting change because it's like, well, I want this money, or I want this relationship, or I want it to be consistent. And so Uranus has been teaching us since 2018, like the only consistent thing is change, the randomness of change, the unpredictability of change with Uranus. And so now when it goes into Gemini, it's not dealing with so much the creative expression and the money piece and the relationship piece. It's dealing with the mind in Gemini. And Venus is like coming into Gemini this week too. So it's kind of like, well, okay, we have this like piece where it's like, we're still kind of like looking at it through a relationship lens. It's kind of like poetic that Venus is ahead of Uranus, that it's going to be in Gemini because Gemini is not fully done with Taurus. It'll retrograde back in a couple of months. And so it's like looking at it like, you know, it's not that we're done like figuring out our relationships, like our tribal community situations. If anything, the Uranus piece in Gemini is going to be immediately, ideally, the curiosity and communication of going, what the fuck is going on in the world? Like, what actually is real and factual? Is this AI? Is that AI? Like, is this person like been just like saying one truth but then contradicting themselves? Just like very like Uranus, like in Gemini, just like flipping over like that side of the coin, and like where people can go crazy, you know, like it's the craziness of Uranus and Gemini where it's like the major wars that always get talked about, right? Like it's, you can think of it as like, that's kind of a mental short circuiting, like, okay, we're just gonna go a little nutso and we're just gonna fucking kill each other, right? It's like, it gets that like level of intensity and crazy. And so it's going to start making aspects over to that Saturn. And so I think we have to be looking at this as like, okay, you know, boots on the ground, got to like make sure that we're paying attention to the facts of like what's going on, not only like in very much like in our personal lives of just like fact check, but it's more of like a reading the writing on the wall, like understanding like history, right? Like understanding not just like personal history of like how your mind like operates and it's like mental patterns and like tracking that. Like job number one for everyone is going to be like paying attention to like your thinking patterns, right? Because you'll solve a lot, like you'll figure out a lot of issues and eliminate issues and find solutions just by being more curious, being more observant, especially at this first 0 degree of Uranus and Gemini. But yes, Uranus and Gemini is going to bring up more of the explosion of like tech, AI, communications. Like ideally it is different ways of like thinking that we can have and communicating, and it can be like a thing of like, it depends, you know, like how brainwashed, you know, has the media with like Neptune on Saturn, and even just like all like the deeper past stuff, like too, like because there's stuff in the astrology around like family origins, ancestral, past life stuff. It's like, what's the level of commitment to having to have conflict and have war in some aspect, but it's like ideally it would be going like, like maybe like there is this like two sides of the coin thing. Like it's sides, and it's like heads or tails, like with things, but it's a bit of a coin flip, like the randomness of like what actually is factual. That's the trouble with Uranus and Gemini. It's like kind of like for every like equal fact statistic, there's like an opposite, like outside the box theory, right? Like it would be like, it could like literally be on one side of the coin, like this is basic math, this is just how it is. And then it's like, there could be a scientific breakthrough that is like some like quantum theory that proves like the way that we usually thought about things is actually not true. Like it could be stuff about our own solar system. It could be stuff about how we thought that our bodies, operate, like how we thought about health. Like, it's like South Node and Virgo stuff, North Node and Pisces. So it's like the cosmic energy of things. But this is, this Neptune that's going to be going retrograde on the 4th. Like, I think that 6-month retrograde cycle that starts is, and it depends because Neptune's an outer spiritual planet, like the transpersonal piece. So for those that are like aware, intuitive, it's kind of like, okay, shit, I see where I like hesitated. Because the problem with Neptune in Aries is like the fogginess. I can't see where I'm driving. Maybe I should just pull off to the side of the road and wait. But ultimately it's like where our ego persuades us to kind of like stay like in our patterns and like not take action and like take more of a defined direction of things. And so this is what brings up intuition and like trying to do our best to like see through the fog of like what's true to our own spiritual nature that fits us. And that's why the know thyself piece is like really important with it. But on a transpersonal level, because it's very collective, out of spiritual planet, and some people may catch on, some not. I think I hate to say it, but it's kind of like where, the plug gets pulled a little bit, like on compassion and empathy. And so it's going to be having to like actually like strategically like reach in and find that more gentleness, that more Neptune sensitivity, like with things, not only for ourselves, but also like to be an embodiment of that. Because like it will even be a falsity giving compassion, giving non-judgment, saying prayers, for someone. It's like we have to be like doing that for ourselves, so it's kind of a wake-up call for anyone that tries to walk more of a positive spiritual path of any type, where it's like you kind of got to like make sure that you're filling your own cup, because that Neptune that retrogrades is going to be making a sextile to that Pluto in Aquarius that's already retrograded. So it's kind of like you got to fill your cup. Like the truth is like it's a lie if you can't make sure that you're like being okay with like service to self. Like, are your basic Aries needs like being met? Because in Aquarius, it's wanting to meet the needs of others, but it's only got so much in the pitcher. It's the water bearer. And so the pitcher that we're filling up with the Neptune retrograde is going, okay, let me slow down a little bit and like check my antenna to spirit. Let me check how well is my crown chakra operating. Like, how has my ego been doing these past, few months? Like, it hasn't been in Aries the whole time. The past 6 months it was direct, but it's been there for a couple. And so it's a good tune-up time, right? It's the, okay, whatever. We drove as far as we did, especially like on a spiritual advancement of self with things, and then it retrogrades. And so it's like, well, I got as far as I did, but regardless, if I didn't go as far as what maybe I had optimistically hoped for, I was expecting a miracle or something, this is what it is. And now the tune-up. Now, the good news is Saturn's not retrograde yet. That doesn't do that till like the mid-month, and I'll cover more of that in a future video, in the monthly video for the sun and rising signs, because it's more Saturn that's like the iron decision making, ironclad decisions, reality that when that motherfucker retrogrades for 4 months, that's hard, because especially retrograde on Neptune, it can feel like we're stuck with the character that we chose. We're stuck with the karma that can feel really sensitive of the actions that we're taking. Like we're rewinding the record, right? So if you've been in drama and worry and, you know, because that Mars that's approaching that South Node in Virgo that rules that Aries sign, it's like these are the underbelly, you know, more negative consequential things that can come up. It can feel hard getting trapped in that. And so it can feel like a crazy level of survival that's like, fuck, this is hard. So it can be a really alchemical process, right? The good thing is that Neptune's here to be like, it's okay, like nothing bad or wrong happened. So it can be an inner compassion level awakening for us all to be like, all right, well, I won't do that again. I won't like misstep that again, or like take that free will action again that was just like a pattern of not wanting to like take more responsibility for our direction. Because that's what's hard about this astrology. It's like, especially that Neptune aspect to Pluto, it's like it's doubling down on these reminders, like we've never been here before. There are no roads. Like this is like free will at a higher level that we've ever seen. And so that can produce a lot of fear, you know, like standing on top of a skyscraper, at least feeling that way, even though it's not really that, but it can feel that level of exposure, like there's nothing to catch you. But like there is, that's what's ironic. It's just with the South Node and Mars, it can feel like the survival of like the system or the job or this thing that I depended on, it like isn't working. Even spiritually, it's like, well, fuck, I go and I do this thing hoping for this spiritual result, this harvest, and it doesn't work. And it's like, that's the hard part, is that this is astrology of, it's not about, let me go do this and then this will happen. That's the thinking that's ending. The thinking that's here now is more of like the, how can I trust and surrender to my intuition that it's going to lead me moment to moment to a path of success. So the positive is that with that Neptune retrograde on Saturn, and especially when that Saturn goes retrograde, it's kind of like, okay, well, there's still going to be intuitive nudges and little things that can be done to like, you know, get out of it, but, you know, not wanting it to feel like, what was that? It was one of the last movies I think James Franco did where he like got trapped for like 8 days or something, like that, had to do all that crazy stuff. And that might sound like nuts because of what happened in that movie, but like, you know, it can get really intense. Like Saturn, Neptune, and Aries retrograde. We haven't seen these retrogrades yet. And so there's going to be those nudges. Every moment is an intuitive nudge, but the issue is that it can kind of like feel like this like backlog as a soul of like stuff to deal with that can produce stress. It can produce maybe breathing issues, that sort of thing, where it's like we want to double down more on like figuring out the puzzle, the frustration, the delays, the worry, and like double down on the mind. And Pluto's like retrograde over there just going like, hey, the answers, the truth is like within you, but you gotta like kind of calm down and use Neptune to let the intuition like come to you. It's gonna drop in when you're like, it's the kid that gets put in timeout, and finally it's just like, okay, I've accepted I'm in timeout. And it's like, it's always like getting put in timeout that's the worst part. It's like once the acceptance of I'm in timeout, it can actually be really soothing, you know, like literally for kids, but also for us as adults too, where it's like some of it with the Mars South Node, it's like the divine timing of things where it's like, we don't want to keep just doing activity after activity and being overstimulated and fatiguing our adrenals and stressing the fuck out and, you know, chasing the tail, so to speak. I mean, it's nice that it's Cancer season. You got Jupiter down there, so it's like there's always a retreat space, right? There's always a retreat space in your heart, in your home, right? that Mercury that's in Leo, but because it's dispositing that South Node in Virgo, it's like, well, got to watch out to make sure that we're not being too kid-like, that we're not being too childlike. It's good to have fun, but like, this isn't about like being the person that's like, I just want to go have fun, but it makes like no sense whatsoever. So I think like Uranus will be the boost, you know, where it's like, holy shit, the electricity just flipped on of like making sure that things are factual, that things make sense. But you know, it is really interesting with Uranus there, because you can almost look at this as like, okay, the South Node and Virgo kind of like tampers with like the Mercury and the hermetic observant mind of things and the details and just like consuming one bit of data at a time. And so it's in Leo, and so it's like being cautious not to go into the kid-like drama, just like lack of responsibility piece of it. But then you have Uranus and the other sign that Mercury is at home in Gemini, that's like the bigger, wider, like higher mind, like seeing the bigger, higher picture. So it's always the collective picture, but like now we have to kind of see this through our personal lives, like through the mind. And so this is where I think that people can finally, even if it has to be shoved in their face, that people finally start like catching on about what I've been saying, you know, the past few months. I'm not saying people like don't, but like, you know, just I plant the seeds ahead of time, right? Where it's like, hey, like the world's changing, like we're going in like a different direction. Like you're gonna have to get familiar with things being a little bit more unpredictable than what your mind is used to. And so like start making like those subtle changes to where it doesn't have to be like a shock and a surprise that can feel like, what do you mean that, you know, I can't go do this thing? Or what do you mean like this thing with my job? Or what do you mean this thing about the party that I believed in politically, or this, I don't know, movie actor or whatever? It's like, it's the sudden change of like, wait, I thought it was that way, and then it's not. And so there's been a lot of great people out there that have probably been labeled mostly conspiracy theorists by some, but like this is where it gets a little bit more like natural, like in the face, like people in general accepting like, whoa, like yeah, something's up, something's going on. And so it's not like waiting for, it's not like sticking, like this is astrology to say like, don't stick it out in the burnout and just do the same thing over and over again, and or be the ostrich that I mentioned. Like it's like, it's being more curious, optimistic, heart-centered about like the changes, and going, well shit, like this is kind of crazy because, you know, like I gotta go do something different. But like this is like, it's like in the movies where it's like the soldier that doesn't want to sit on the couch and he's bored as fuck and hates his life, but then like, hey, there's a battle, like there's stuff going on, like we need you on the front lines, and it's like, fuck yeah, let's go. So it's like we have to find that within our soul to like acknowledge our own complacency, the way that the reality has been like humdrum, because it's Mars in South Node in Virgo. Like it will seem real that things are too mundane, too humdrum. We're trying to reach for that South Node, for that spiritual, you know, you could say spark, but I'd say the nice thing about that North Node in Pisces, it's like, it is saying like, hey, like you can, it's kind of like a little bumper stickery, but you can be anything you want to be. Like, don't settle for that Mars in Virgo South Node piece, and that's dealing with the boundless nature of Neptune and Saturn, you know, making a decision, right? Like, who do you want to be? Like, you're not bound to your version of the Truman Show, or being lost, like how things don't like work anymore. Like I'll relate this to like a lot of like readings lately, where it's like, Sometimes people are like, hey, what's up? You know, I feel this thing, I feel this calling, I feel this sense of purpose, I feel this in my business. You know, what do I do? You know, and it's like kind of like breaking it down, and it's like, well, here's the thing, you know, it's like your consciousness is in the driver's seat, and here's like some tools and integrative practices that you can do to like move some energy to like step more into that free will alignment with like divine will. But it's like a lot of people are like waiting for like the hero moment or for it all to like make sense. And that's the weird thing, is like that's still looking on the outside. Like nothing's gonna like make sense, especially Uranus and Gemini, where it's like the only sense to make of it is that you're a very powerful creator, like that you create with your thoughts, your actions, your words. And that's why we've been doing all the deprogramming and the shadow work and just seeing all the bullshit that's been happening at least since 2020 and all of it, so we could go, okay, well, that sucks, or this is mundane, or this is boring, or that's not fun, or whatever. Let me go do this thing over here instead. And then not getting lost in the overwhelm mentally, emotionally, of what's happening in the world. Like Jupiter's here cradled in Cancer to be like it's okay. Like you can find like your stride in your domestic life and your vision by intuitively like feeling through and sensing through like the newness and the new horizons of things. And then Uranus and Gemini, where it's like, hey, you know, like don't freak your mind out because, you know, you're getting caught up with like the common crowd like way of thinking. This is about being rebellious, and kind of reminds me of like, now I see why I've been seeing this vision. It's like one of the newer Star Wars movies where it was like the black dude that was the stormtrooper, and it's like he like had an awakening on the battlefield and like all of a sudden realized like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, so it's like, not saying people are fighting for the dark per se, but like sometimes like it's like where we get hung up on the battlefield of fighting for a side we didn't even realize was bad, and we were just following orders, you know. But like that's the darkness and the control and the limitations, you know. And so then that guy became like a free thinker and kind of that spontaneous mental awakening. That's sort of like the Uranus and Gemini piece of it, where it's like all of a sudden something just like happens. Like for him, it was like one of his peers died, right? Very like sextile over to the Saturn, like Neptune piece of it. Like, is it going to take like an ego death, you know, like just the mortality, like in your like face in general? Like for some, yeah, like that's what we've been dealing with these past couple of weeks, is like the mind and the way it's connected to the ego and the way that it thinks things should go. And like, especially like the playing it safe piece, because I want to talk about that for a second. This energy, that North Node, that South Node in Virgo, the Saturn, Neptune, Aries, Uranus going into Gemini, it's like there has to be an expansion. Like there just has to be, because the consequences of like playing it safe and trying to play into the old system of being protected will just fundamentally create more stress, because there becomes an over-reliance on something outside the self to be the key to sanity, safety, security. And it's been flipped, you know, like we're the pioneers now. Like we create our own sense of safety by connecting spiritually and going in directions that feel more positive. And so it's like riding the edge of life. It's like riding the wave of it. And I know like with Jupiter and Cancer, and it being Cancer season, it's a reminder that, you know, part of this vision of safety and security in the home life, you know, is like the family situations. But like we have to see it like as that, you know. It's a little bit like, what was it? I think it was Mel Gibson in The Patriot. Like, I think it was the Revolutionary War one. Because this astrology does bring up Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War II. So it's like you could pull these like archetypes from movies from those wars, where it's like he had a family, he didn't want to go fight, but like something happened and like he felt compelled to like go fight. And so it's not like it's got to be like that, right? If anything, it's Saturn, Neptune, it's the spiritual fight for, do you know why you came down here? Do you know that you came down here to be fucking awesome, to like do cool shit and try shit and fall and fail and be okay with that and learn from that and have an experience? You didn't come here to pretend that like it's still the fucking 90s, you know, where you could just like watch TV and just relax and go to a job and, you know, date some fucking loser that's not even like putting in any spiritual work on themselves, and they just blames their triggers on everyone else, you know? Like that's the type of shit that's just like, it's the ridiculous nature where it's like, how many more things like does it take like in our personal lives and collectively for it to go like, it's too much of a cop out to be like, oh, it's Book of Revelations, or oh, like the world's ending or whatever. No, it's not. It's like it's a re-emergence of the celestial spiritual side of like the way showers and people that are ready to step up and go, yeah, I have a family, or I have people that love me, or that count on me, or I have responsibilities. And so that's even more emphasis on like why to step it up and do the self-mastery, self-development work through all this, that like becomes a game changer, because now it's bigger than us. Like we're writing the new history part of it too. So it's like we can't just like play it selfishly too, right? Saturn, Neptune is going, there's a transpersonal piece to it that's like bigger than us, but it's like it's too heavy to like worry about all that and get sensitive about that. It's more just like the fuel for like, you wake up in the morning, you show up, you do your stuff like day to day. It's kind of like asking the curious Uranus Gemini question, how can I be more stimulated and curious about being awesome today and helping people and going in like more positive directions? Like this is like what we've been waiting for, a lot of spiritual people. Like, is this first wave that we're seeing this year until it solidifies next year, is all the outer planets are shifted and now they're in fire and air signs. Pluto and Aquarius, not Capricorn. Neptune, and you could throw in Saturn there in Aries, not Pisces at the moment. And now finally Uranus not in Taurus, in Gemini. So it's all fire and air. It's extroverted. It's the intense communication. Like you have fire, you have air, basically wind. It's wildfire, right? It gets really intense like during this time. And so the intensity that you might see is like people coming from like a negative, egoic, at war side, you know, where it's crazy and just like shouting into a megaphone and it gets louder and it's like, holy shit, like can we take any more, you know, individuals like having a voice whenever it's maybe coming from like a shitty place. But the nice thing is like it's the standing in the middle of like the neutrality piece of it and not like choosing a side with Uranus and Taurus, because that's going to be the real mastery, is can you be the person that sees things with more neutrality and non-judgment, and be that spiritual person and be like, okay, some people are being like this, some people are being like that, and I have that work to do, and we all do. And it's like, it's even in ourselves, right? Like, can we be, you know, gentle enough to go like, there's going to be slips, trips, and falls. There's going to be accidents and missteps, but like it's part of the, sounds weird to say, it's like part of the experience. It's part of the simulation. It's like, you know, reminds me of like Neo in the Matrix. He's like, he goes in the simulation, but sometimes he gets punched, sometimes he falls, like, you know, depending on that the level of the challenge. But like sitting on the couch eating, you know, Cheetos and just, you know, like also too, like it brings up like all talk, like no action. All like just talk, like talking about collected things that are going on, having conversations that are stimulating, and then just like walking away, but like, yeah, well, you know, we'll see what happens, or the world's kind of fucked or whatever. It's like, I think that we need conversations that actually have more substance and value, that like move the needle forward, like move things forward. And so there's a strategy within ourselves. There's like a growing up energy to kind of ask ourselves, like, do I really want to have this conversation, and like checking in intuitively and being okay with like having those like time boundaries and like where we give our attention and our communication to, because like this could be really gossipy shit, you know, like talking about people behind other people's backs, and you know what that's like. St. Louis is weird sometimes, but all in all, I don't think it's a bad week coming up. But the main thing I want to say is that it's not about like a, you know, don't last minute try to like go from being like a bull and turn into a horse and think that you got to like gallop faster and get there faster. It's more so like okay, like, let me find the courage to connect to my intuition to find out what is really meeting a basic true need and desire, and don't even worry about the scoreboard or feeling like losing or behind or trying to play catch up or something. And just like find that flow and find that stride a little bit. Because honestly, before Uranus goes into Gemini and before that Neptune retrograde, it'll feel just more cool and more gentle, being like, okay, well, I got whatever I got as far as I got with it, whatever it is that you value in life. But because, you know, it is a building phase. It's not just like just surviving, getting by. Like this is energy to go, hey, like you get, like there's freedom to expand outside just the monotony of just day-to-day stuff. And so however far we get, it's at least going, well, at least I shifted that pattern. At least I shifted that stubborn mental stuckness of things, and, you know, witness myself like about to do the thing and then be like, nope, not today, Satan, you know, and just like going in a different direction, like with things, right? Because like underneath of all of it at the bedrock, it is the character adaptation to these changing times of becoming the person that's like, you know, more ready to lead. So this is the point where I've been saying for months, it's like it was more of a training ground simulation. We're in the hybrid now. Like it's becoming more real now, you know. And so the hybrid is almost like not a bad thing, because it's going to be phasing our understanding and how we connect into a bridge understanding of, it would be too much to be like, okay, it's real now, because then you get stage fright, right? It's better for it to be like, okay, I'm still practicing, it's a simulation, but actually like there's real consequences, there's real results. So yeah, that's not, no one experiences this as like fear-mongery or like cautionary or something. It's more just like, you know, I get it. I'm a human too. It's like, change can be hard. I'm fucking, you know, triple earth sign. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Taurus rising. And I have Chiron in Gemini. This Uranus is going to be crossing. It's like, in the second house, it's like, I can be pretty stubborn, but change is here. Change is inevitable. This is the time for change, especially Uranus in Gemini. I'd say making loose. You know, it's a loose trine up to that Pluto in Aquarius. We'll start to feel that. So help a brother out, help someone out. Because things don't like work in predictable fashion, and how we lay it out in like a perfect cookie cutter reality of this is what I do day to day and this is when I'm available for helping people and being supportive and not, it's going to be more serendipitous now, where it's like if you see someone like in need and you feel that you have the availability for that need, like support them. It'll only take a minute. Like none of this is designed, especially when it's Uranus and Gemini trine Pluto and Aquarius that's retrograde. It's like it's not about getting like stuck in the conversation. Like there's ways out, or like stuck in a people situation, you know, like honestly, like this is where the we'll really start to see who's fake as fuck and trash. It's the person that sees someone in need and they can help and then they don't do it, whether they feel that in themselves or they just they don't want to do anything, right? Like this is where it starts to kind of see a little bit more clearly. Like some people are on one side where it's like they don't want to help, they want to be left alone, and there's other people that are like, oh yeah, just like you just help a brother out, you help a sister out, like whatever. And that you'd think that would be there automatically, but I think we have to look at this as like the whole 2020 and lockdown shit, and you know the Pluto Saturn piece of it, and Capricorn, and we were in all this earth and water energy, and so now in the air and fire, like it brings up like, okay, like you've had long enough, like you've been breathing like the stagnant, you know, air in your home, you know, or your usual environment, or whatever, you know, you're stubborn for long enough. Like it's time for more play, it's time like for more connection, it's time for more conversations and idea exchanges. And so it's like, I know people are doing that, but like this, like Uranus like shifting into Gemini, it's like, hey, like we gotta come together. And it's not about like this perfect kumbaya piece of it. Like it won't feel comfortable if like the beliefs and the way of understanding things like don't match. And so part of the major stress reduction factor, honestly, is being okay with being your authentic self and plugging into conversations and environments and situations with people that you feel safe with, that you feel good with. Like this is not about trying to change the world's mind about stuff. It's just about being inspiring about your circle. And it doesn't have to be huge. It could be 3 people. Who gives a shit, right? It's just like, you know, it's like the lights on the Christmas tree. Like if you're on that strand, you know, this is old school, but it's like if you're on that strand, they all got to work or none of them do. So no one that's in your life right now, if you're having like challenges, whether it's like it's too much or it's too little or whatever, like none of it's by mistake. Like your soul just chose that particular challenge or limitation. And so it's about seeing it as like, okay, well, there's a desire for it to feel a lot better or feel more expansive, you know, for things to feel more all-inclusive, to feel more understood, to be accepted, you know, all the things that come up in the astrology. It's like, well, where has maybe the mind's programming been followed as opposed to like something more deeper, innate, intuitive to yourself, you know, because the astrology is very much like pointing at, hey, like it's you and it's your security in yourself, right? In your personal life. And then that extends out to your family, the people that you're the closest to, that you talk with, and get those like dialed in, and then like then start like branching out and like connecting with more people. But if you're not sure how to own it like fully, like this is the spiritual essence of me, like I'm eternal, bitch, you know, like if I fucking die, I die, like if I fucking slip, I slip, if it, you know, if a mistake happens, a mistake happens, but like this is like the hill that I'm willing to die on, this is the mountain I'm willing to die on. And there'll be time for breaks and the self-care piece of it. It's not all like balls to the wall, like energy, like far from it. It's just more so like, if anything, it's like taming the ego and taming the mind to like not go into a crazy direction that's too formidable, like that's like too much change, or it's like negative change, or it's like introduces chaos, and to like kind of stay on the rails of what's already been making sense on a more spiritual, intuitive level, and trust that the connections like that we all need, right? Because it's not all like tech and AI and like stuff. Like we're like, there's still going to be a demand for coming together. Like I had this conversation with someone I'm working with on a tech project today. It's like Uranus and Gemini. It's like there's like these extremes to both sides of the coin. Like some of it'll be like way too crazy, weird. Is this even real? Like AI tech stuff, and then finding how to use tech and AI in a good way. But then the other extreme is like people that are just like wanting to come together and just like talk and just have like real conversations and be like, can we just like meet in person and coffee more often? Like, can we like not do Zoom, or can we just like get together in person more? Like so-and-so's got, a big backyard or living room in the neighborhood. Like, let's go. And so it's very Uranus Gemini. So it's like, it's not like there's gonna become this isolation piece like with this. And so I hope people don't lose like that very positive, eccentric curiosity that can feel, like Jack Skellington, like what's this, except like not going and fucking everything up, and like be more positive exploration with like not like interfering, but just like getting curious and exploring these things and thinking outside the box. That it's like doing that versus like going into like techno stress of the overwhelm of the mind and going, this tech stuff's way too much, I don't know what to do with this, and like making it wrong and being like, this AI stuff's wrong, this tech stuff's wrong, what happened to us, blah blah blah. Like it's here, like it's factual, like it's a part of the evolution of things, like the technology part of it. I always tell people, it's like, if you're freaking out about this stuff too, go watch the first 3 Matrix movies again, or for the first time, so you can get to the 4th one and actually like digest this idea of it's not all bad, the tech, AI machine stuff. Because going in this, direction of that curiosity is better than like losing our shit and then like missing out on the opportunities. Like that's where the isolation happens, because it's like the isolation like of not wanting to have conversations. And so it's like, it's actually good to have the conversation about wherever you stand, like whether you like something or you don't like something. You're like, yep, not for me, or whatever. It's at least like talk about it, but also like be open and curious to like other perspectives of like other people. So it's like, because in some ways we're all kind of like a little Neanderthal-ish right now, like not in like a way that we're not smart, but like we're just very new and basic to some things that we're all just like learning and figuring out together. And some people are, figured out, how to build the wheel, and some people don't want to look at the wheel, but eventually everyone's going to want to like look at the wheel and figure it out. Or I don't know what to tell you, because it is a digital age that we're very much stepping into, but it's both, it's that and community, because that openness to like what's happening can at least like, we can at least like get curious and get some like education on like, oh, I thought it was this. Like a lot of people think it's like AI and tech, it's going to be Terminator Judgment Day stuff, and it's all just going to take over. But like really, like the way that it's been reading to me, it's like, as long as like we maintain the integrity of that Saturn Neptune of like, honor your intuition, don't like give away your intuition to the tech AI stuff, it becomes an extension of a creative tool to make things easier and more efficient, you know? So like any like stress, fatigue people are like going through, it's like, hey, like here's where if you play the long game and learn this shit, like you don't have to experience that. So, but there's a lot of responsibility to maintaining a sense of identity in who you are and not letting the machine or the AI like become you. So, you know, food for thought. Can't help but like talk about like the tech communication AI stuff with Uranus going into Gemini. So that's on the 7th. Watch out for that Neptune on the 4th. Named that as well in terms of what to look for there. If you want to get into that higher self coaching group, message me, drop a comment, drop an emoji. Same thing for astrology readings. Sometimes people will ask me like, how often should I come for a reading? It all depends. I mean, some people, like if you've got a lot on the line, doing a monthly lunar return chart is a really good fucking idea. Some people just need like the, hey, pop in when you need to and like, let's take a deep look and figure out what's going on. Some people like to try to see further out. So more like solar return, yearly chart type stuff. So it all depends, you know. I think sometimes people think too, like, oh, I've had an astrology reading before, you know. Not with me, you haven't. It's different. I can own that all day long. Let's pull some cards. Ace of Pentacles reversed. Page of Swords. Yeah, and 8 of Swords. So, you know, there's a lot here dealing with like this more physical, I'd say masculine piece of it. I understand they can feel unstable, right? Like we're wanting some like passion, like newness to commit to in the physical, like something to like tangible. Because that's the problem with Saturn, Neptune. It's like, in all this astrology, you can feel very intangible, right? We got to stay sharp though in the mind, right? Like a lot of it is just like choosing your path and going, okay, like this is what feels stimulating and exciting for me. And then the 8 of Swords, it's just like, yes, there's going to be binding programs that push back. It could be stress related, responsibility related, like thinking related, health related, all these like limiting factors. But it's like, just like get help, you know, get support. Like the other part, you know, this brings up with Mars, South Node in Virgo, is like not wanting like help or support, not wanting to communicate, like wanting to like untangle the knots alone. And it can feel like, well, I know how to tie my shoes and untie my shoes and basic stuff. I don't need help with that. Like you can feel like that metaphorically of the stuff that we just always knew how to do and we don't know how to do it anymore. And it's like, well, there's a solution though for that. Maybe it is tech related, but you know, have conversations with people. Like honestly, like this is self-actualization central. Like we have to be okay with reaching out to people and trying things and taking actions. And so just sitting in the system that's not really working anymore and just being passive, if anything, that will lead to like more of that Jupiter and Cancer, like emotional overwhelm, where it's like the walls can feel like they're closing in, but it'll also lead to, you know, if there can be a neutral observation going, accepting and going, shit, like this is not comfortable anymore. I'm not comfortable. This is not abundant. I'm stuck in my Cancer crab shell and I feel crabby and I don't feel good about it. I gotta get off the fucking sofa and I gotta go try something. And so that could, even for the people that stay busy, that's the sofa of your mind too. Try new approaches. Stop fibbing to yourself if you're in a position where you're having drama, you're having conflicts, you're having things that aren't like working. Your fucking social media account is not a true representation of what's going on in your life. So it's the mirror in your bathroom, honestly. Like when you feel your lowest, I hate to say it like this, but this is the astrology. It's when you feel your lowest, and that's your lowest frequency, that is probably more likely of like where the challenges and issues are at to like work out in more of a subtle way, so that the excitement, the eccentric nature of this astrology that's coming, to see it as a positive and not fear-based and worry, like it pops off fully and it's fully authentic, and we can actually ground it and break bread with it, make substance of it, by really honoring like the emotional frequency state in our private lives too, is a big part of it. So appreciate you all. See you.